The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Hey everyone, welcome to PopCon Week on the Brandon Peters Show. This week is going to be my release of all my recordings live from PopCon Indy 2023. Another magnificent weekend put on by Carl Donager and Chris Keys. PopCon is near and dear to my heart, as Ming Chen of Comic Book Men fame would say over and over about the categories in the podcast awards, which we held on Friday night. Another success. Get your podcasts in on those. You could be all around the globe. We had videos from everywhere accepting, and we had people also in attendance doing such. Thank you to all those. Thank you who came to PopCon. Thank you to those who support PopCon or even like a picture from PopCon. Such a great celebration of pop culture. With some of the best people I have ever met. Supportive, friendly, collaborative people. My first recording we're going to listen to here today, it wasn't supposed to happen. It was a last-minute fill. I had a cancellation on the podcast stage. I needed to do something. If you got to do something, you do it yourself. So I put on a 60 Years of Doctor Who recording because there wasn't much in the way of Doctor Who going on there. I do make a mistake saying there's no Doctor Who guests at PopCon, but I slightly mistaken because James Marsters, who we all know as Spike on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, among other things, those other things being he was on Torchwood, which is a spinoff of Doctor Who. So I clarify my mistake here. But anyways, Geoff Arbuckle of Film Seizure, B-Movie Enema, and Monster Mondays, who you might remember was on my Holiday Gift Guide Blu-ray episode during the second year. I wasn't able to do one in year 3. He won an award for Film Seizure on Friday night, 2 awards. And I asked him, he's a Doctor Who fanatic just like me, and it'd be pretty something both of us could ease really into and talk about, and just, you know, hope people show up. And, well, they did. I was stunned. There were people who sat down, and a lot of people sometimes at early in the morning are just resting. And then somebody showed up in a Tom Baker scarf. And I asked a woman, I said, hey, you here for this? She said, yes. She said she was bringing her daughter there and told her there'd be nothing for her there, and then saw that and said, yes, there is one thing for me there. So we got to all sit and share our love of Doctor Who. I was just overwhelmed with joy. My heart melted. I just couldn't believe it. We were all just sitting in a room. It was great. I really enjoyed this recording, and thank you to Geoff for taking part on it. We were stunned that we had an audience because it was so last minute, and we just didn't know. And there's a craving for Doctor Who at PopCon, which excites me. I'm very excited about it. But I'm quit rambling. It's been like 3 minutes. Get to the recording. So if you want to hear yourself like Cliff, thank you. Everybody, I'm gonna do some more Doctor Who with the podcast stage because this is great. This is you letting me know if you have it, I will be there. So without further ado, myself, Geoff Arbuckle, 60 Years of Doctor Who. We're recording now. Official. The stage is hot. The mics are hot.
Yep.
Welcome to the podcast stage. I'm Brandon Peters. I'm your host for the weekend of the podcast stage. There's shows all day, but I'm going to plug mine at 1, where you can come and be part of the show and win a prize. It's good. It's myself, Jessica Alsman from the Bob and Tom Show, and Patches McGlynn from KJ Today, and it's a fun time. Jeff's come to it, haven't you?
I have. I did last year. I plan to again this year.
All right, so we're here for the Doctor Who 60-year celebration, and I think, hang on, sorry, horrible planner, very excited to see you all. That's why That's the way I did this. But we're going to start this right. And I hope it's not blasting through the ears, but let's get started the right way.
Oh, it's
He's just singing the tune.
yeah.
All right.
Special guest star Dixie the praying dog.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for coming to the Doctor Who 60th anniversary panel.
Yeah.
We have something Doctor Who going on here at PopCon. There's a couple. There's the Doctor Who store, and there's the Gallifreyan language thing over there. Very awesome to check out. I'm Brandon Peters, host of The Brandon Peters Show, and this is...
I am Geoff Arbuckle. I am the co-host of Film Seizure and the host of Monster Mondays, both of which can be found at filmseizure.com.
All right, excellent. And we're going to put on we'll just talk Doctor Who with you. We want to hear from you as well. Not just us, you. But Geoff, to start, why do you love Doctor Who so much?
So when I was a kid in the 80s, this is probably a lot of where a lot of people's stories are going to start. I had an older brother who's 15 years older than me, who was into Star Trek, Doctor Who, just about every sci-fi thing you could think of. And I just kind of picked it up through him, and of course, that was when it was on Channel 20. And so I would watch as much as possible. Sometimes it was Sunday afternoons. Sometimes it was Saturday late night. There was a run there with the first and second Doctor. And it just was something that was like, it piqued every right neuron in my head to say, I like monsters, I like science fiction, I would love to have a TARDIS, and I would love to have some of the outfits that they wore too. So
yeah, I similarly with PBS. I grew up in Fort Wayne, so I had the Fort Wayne PBS station that late at night I caught it was Peter Davison and Tom Baker reruns is what they did. But I was never it was never consistent. I was never really there to hold on to it. And then the 90s, they had the television movie, and I was like, oh, I'm going to watch that. I know what Doctor Who is. I know about that. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then it kind of dissipated. And then I moved out to Los Angeles, wasn't paying attention to things. And one night I was flipping through channels. Sci-Fi Channel was running something. I'm like, this looks all like Doctor Who stuff. And they had brought it back. And it was right at the beginning of when they started airing Series 1 of modern. We call it Modern Who, New Who. What do we want to call it? Because I know people get angry at every little term. And it's what we're talking about, right?
It's like Trekkies and Trekkers.
Right, yeah. So and then from there, it's been a part of a solid part of my life since then. Never missed, caught up, went back through the old stuff, really got invested, and yeah, that's what I'm in. So Geoff, favorite classic era Doctor?
That's John Pertwee.
John Pertwee?
Yeah.
All right. Favorite classic era companion?
Well, I'm going to go with Joe Grant.
Joe Grant. Okay. Yeah. So and favorite classic era story?
Inferno. So that's a threefer for
one
number
of my
3.
Tops of all time. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Yeah. So myself, Tom Baker.
Yeah.
Classic companion Romana. Either one. I don't need to choose.
Romana 1 needs a lot more attention and appreciation.
Right. I like them both because I like that they're doing more than just asking questions. They're being proactive. And she's a fashion goddess.
Fashionista.
I'm just like, wow, that's you have such cool outfits all the time. And I love. Do any of you collect the Blu-rays, the collection series? Okay, so they do this thing called Behind the Sofa where they have cast members that are involved in them and used to be involved. They watch these stories through the whole season and they comment on them. It's based off Gogglebox that the UK does. And so they'll have Janet Fielding and Sarah Sutton. They're regulars on the couch, and they're watching Lala Ward episodes and being mad we never got to change clothes. Why is she in cool stuff all the time? We're the same thing the whole time. So
they were also 80s.
Yeah, they
so
were
the
80s.
little somewhat cursed.
Somewhat cursed. All right, then we're going to scoot over to modern era Doctor.
Peter Capaldi.
Capaldi, okay. Modern era companion.
Probably got to go with Rose. I mean, she's so important, and like the way that she left was heartbreaking.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right, and then story. It's hard. Why is it harder with the newer stuff to remember
It
stories?
is,
Because there's like
they're-
every episode's a thing,
Because
right?
it's episodic now.
Right.
I did like the one. What was the one in the Ninth Doctor? What was that called with the two-parter with the spooky kids with the gas mask?
Oh, where Captain Jack debuted,
Yes.
right? Yep.
That was probably
Doctor Dances and
you.
something. Empty Child? Doctor
Yeah, the
Dances?
Empty
Did we do
Child
this
and the Dr.
together?
Dances,
This
yeah.
is why we're all here together.
yes.
We're going to do this together.
I always count on the man with the
Yeah. This,
the wife of Nostradamus's
and his shirt
scarf.
says he knows, so
Yeah,
we
so
should.
He does know. Yeah.
So okay, me. I for long I was David Tennant, but the last time I went through, I'm like, it might be Matt Smith.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, he's just. But I will say that the Matt Smith era was my favorite TARDIS team. Like I feel like actor-wise, writing like that gelled really well with
I really liked
Rory
Amy
and
and Rory,
Amy
too, yeah.
And Amy's my favorite Modern Who companion and story. I was sitting thinking about this because I was like, man, Hellbent is really good.
Okay. Yeah.
There's always, the Blink was one that made sure I was staying with the Modern Who
Yeah.
throughout, and I think we overlook how good that is because of that. And so maybe just to give the generic answer there, but that is a really good episode. So
You didn't say what
I
your
didn't say-
favorite, your
okay.
classic.
It is literally between Inferno and Seeds of Doom
Okay. Yeah. Season
because
2 is good,
Inferno
too.
is
Yeah.
so good,
Yeah.
so good.
One of the
Yeah.
very
I want to
rare.
turn to anyone who wants to come up on the mic and share those same things with us. Now's your time. Like, I would love to hear from you. It's okay. Don't be shy.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't like how we sound on these either. Or you
Speak
can
for
answer
you.
just one question or something like that. I'd like you to interact and be able to come up here too. If you don't want to, okay.
Okay.
Do we? What? Peter could.
That is incorrect.
You know what?
Also, I know that guy. I know that dude, and
He does have a sweet suit.
he does, but it's
And
all wrong.
before Shooty got well, he had facial hair,
That is true.
and now Shooty's the one he's got a mustache. They both have.
yeah.
They have the mustache. So, and there's like, isn't there some like, fan like I have to make everything make sense theory that Peter Cushing's doctor is somewhat David Tennant's hand doctor in the Rose thing growing up, and he's not fully thing, and that his telling his stories. It's some weird. I saw somebody trying to connect dots. I'm like, it's production things. You don't have to make it.
Yeah, I mean, Amicus
outs-
had their own plan there. No, I'm going to be honest
Okay.
real quick, because whenever they try to go back and like mess with like the doctor's like past and his relationships, I have to admit, my eyes glaze over and I'm just like, check out. Like
Yeah.
they even during the Seventh Doctor, they were trying to like up his importance,
Right.
and I was like, I'm out, I'm done. It's like I can't follow that.
Gotcha. All right,
Okay,
come on up.
hey, come on up here. Yeah, interaction, everybody.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh wait, are you on? Oh wait, let me. It'd be
There I am.
polite of you-
Okay.
Okay.
So, if it's not obvious by the scarf, it is Baker for Classic
Yeah.
Doctor. I grew up, same story, PBS, turned it on in the afternoon, didn't even know what it was, and it was just, what is, and it coincidentally was Robot, where
nice.
Baker, so I didn't even know about regeneration. It was just, I just thought this was the show.
Yeah.
And to that end, in that season, Genesis of the Daleks,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's the first time we see the Doctor really have a moral quandary of,
I have the right.
do I have
Yeah.
the right to get rid of this awful, awful enemy forever? And of course, it's something we'll weave into the series for the whole time. But that, Baker and that for Classic, those are my two. And for Companion, Sarah. I was in
Sure.
love with
Okay,
Sarah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Oh, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What was your name, by the way?
Cliff. My name is Cliff.
Cliff. All right. For the people at home that weren't here at the PopCon.
No, I do want to follow up on something there about that whole quandary with the Genesis of the Daleks. It's like one of the things that, as a kid, growing up a Doctor Who fan, of course, we got to know that there's obviously budgetary issues, right? But there are some real sci-fi going on here. So the writing had to step up, and classic era Star Trek had to do the same thing in some areas. So, it's like, that's why I really gravitated towards Who, was that it really had to be real sci-fi. And excel on the story and the characters and what it was trying to talk about. And that's an excellent example of, like, it really gets you thinking. It's like, is this the right thing to do to mess with something like that? It's like the whole, should we go back and kill baby Hitler thing?
And earlier in the series, in the Aztecs with William Hartnell, Barbara came in that she wanted to change history, and he's like, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
These are a fixed point. We can't. No, and that was one of the few early episodes that really hit on something like that, like changing what happened in time and things like that, which I like. Which one thing with Doctor Who that I forgot to mention why I gravitate towards it too much is when people ask, like, well, what is it? What could be? It's like anything. Like, it really could be. Like, it could be a horror show one week. It could be sci-fi. It could be a historical. It could be. There's like, just toss it out and see what you get. And you're gonna like something.
Serials like The Demons and Horror of Fang Rock and Brain of Morbius. Those are drawing from those gothic stories.
And recently, The Village of Diodati with Jodie Whittaker, where they were in Mary Shelley's world, and they had the house that was acting all weird, like, and then the Lone Cyberman, which was like made the Cybermen really scary again. Showed up, and that was pretty. I really, that might be my favorite of her era, was the Mary Shelley one, because that was just really well set up.
Nice.
To anybody else, or we will. I have a question, and there's stuff happening for the 60th. I feel like they're waiting to, like, blast us in October and tell us everything. Like, but we have this thing going on called Doomsday. Is anybody following that? The Doom ''S, like, Doom belongs to Doomsday. They have this comedic actress as this character that's going through comics, going through all sorts of things, and it's like those little, like, when they're like, oh, you have to read this and go to this and this and that. I'm like, I'm lost. I'll let someone else figure that out. I don't know whether they tried to do that with Time Lord Victorious recently, and I think that was a test for this Doomsday thing. But it's woo. Like,
no, I don't know anything about that. Admittedly, the first thing I thought of was Superman.
Yeah.
Fortunately.
Right. It's Doomsday, and, like, I don't know. When I watch the show. I like the Blu-rays of the special features. I read production things, and, like, I like collectibles and shirts and stuff. Like, but, like, that cross-play. I'll dabble in the audio dramas from Big Finish. I don't get. That's just a huge.
Yeah, that's a whole other world there.
Remember that guy that tripped in the background? Well, he had a run-in with the master later on. We got 8
8 books.
8 discs, and so, like, I'm like, no.
Sometimes, and that's, I think it's important to understand that I appreciate anyone who wants to kind of explore the lore on their own. And one of the things I like to say when anybody says, oh, I don't really like new Star Wars anymore, or I don't really like this, or I don't really like that. It's like, yeah, but you got your own headcanon.
Yeah.
And it can be however personal or great that you want, but that doesn't also mean that it's going to be picked up by everyone and become really important or whatever, but that's, I applaud people who do want to get that deep and spend their lives.
They can do it. Yeah.
Like, anybody who runs a wiki, it's like, wow.
Well, yeah. There's, like, detailed plots, and I'm like, you didn't need to put that they sneezed. That wasn't important.
I didn't need to know that, just off camera their little Starbucks cup was
right. Yeah. Another 60th anniversary. This is, like, one of my wheelhouses. Big. Anybody big into missing episodes?
Oh yeah.
I don't think we're getting anything returned. I do have some nice sources on those things. There are out there, but I don't think anything's going to come up as much as we want it to.
For the past 35 years, sometimes that's been a wild goose chase, too. It's been like it's a mad world. Everybody is scrambling from one country to another and trying to find stuff. And it's,
But one thing I like that they do is the animations. So they animate. We have the audio for those from people who somehow in the 60s, plugged their tape recorders into TVs or put a mic up to them and have the audios. And I love that they do the animations. And with the animations, for the people who don't like, it's cartoons, I'm like, oh, come on. And there's not a lot of money to put in this because it's a niche thing.
Yeah.
And the fact that they do it, but they do if they have them, they have the telesnap reconstruction. So you can watch pictures because this guy, he used to get paid to go and they didn't have demo. You couldn't give a demo reel of yourself to somebody, but he'd take pictures of the screen throughout an episode. And an actor would be like, I was on Doctor Who. This is me in Doctor Who. You have no idea how my acting is, but that's me in Doctor Who. I was on, so they have those, and this team, Loose Cannon, and I think they get hired out to do these on the Blu-rays and stuff, put them together so you can watch them like a slideshow type thing, and they add little animation stuff, and I love that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if I should admit this, but about 10 or 12 years ago, about 12 years ago, I ended up, there used to be a site called iOffer. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but you could get some like legitimate bootleg stuff on there. But anyway, somebody for like 60 or $80 said, here's the entirety of classic Doctor Who. And I'm like, sold? And I went through all of them. Yeah. So there were some where I'm just, it's like, what was Planet 4? I think is one of like the first Doctor ones.
Right. Yep.
It's like there's an introduction from the guy who played Ian, and then it goes just to a slideshow with audio, and I'm like, this is great. Yeah. I know something that at least 80% of other people aren't going to know anything about. It's like I can actually hear what happened. And not just
there's like
read a wiki page.
Random companies that get interviews with these stars that think they're doing it for something more professional. Like, no, it's for bootleg stuff.
Right.
It's for bootleg. And there's apparently there was a Michael Craze intro that he played Ben from Ben and Polly in the 60s. And there was word that the Smugglers was found. I think it was the Smugglers. And he recorded an intro about it being found and everything. And then they're like, oh, you got to go back. And so there's one of him saying it was found, and there's one of him being like, still lost, but enjoy this reconstruction.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Was that Ben and Polly's first?
That was their first one after War Games. So that was the one after they snuck onto the TARDIS. And that one's rumored to be getting animated after Underwater Menace. Oh, cool. So there's 3 of them that are rumored. So Underwater Menace was rumored, confirmed. Smugglers, though, it might have got mixed up because they're coloring some clips that exist from it for a Missing Believe Wiped event. So that might have got accidentally put with the animation.
Yeah.
But that was rumored to be animated. And the Celestial Toymaker, I don't know if that's because of the 60th anniversary, who the villain might be thing, but there's rumor that that's being animated as well.
Yeah, I do like the animations. I don't know if I'd feel great about them being colorized.
It's like a test. There's somebody. There's a Twitter account that animates it, or they actually at Gallifrey 1 a couple years ago they showed one of the episodes of Dalek's Master Plan fully colored.
Yeah.
For things, and it's a cool thing to see because if they would have had the money, they'd have shot it in color. Color was available back then, but Doctor Who was a cheapie till they and luckily. The Pertwee's first season was we'll do this for one more year, throw it in color, see what happens, and that saved the show. That's one of the pivotal moments of the show is Pertwee's first season. Yeah, that saved the show. Ran for a long time after that.
Plus, it's shot on film. It's a lot more location work. The Underwater Menace. That's the macro, right?
That is the Macro Terror. Underwater Menace is nothing when the world will stop me now.
Okay, yes. Sorry. For some reason, I always just think it's like, well, there's just the crabs because they live underwater.
True.
But no.
So also, for modern series stuff, there's a Blu-ray coming out. In the U.S., it's a complete series, so you got to buy everything for like $200. But in the U.K., they're doing 1 through 4 because they've remastered series 1 through 4 because those were shot on SD. So they... BBC once again being cheap with Doctor Who. It wasn't until David Tennant's specials run of the one with the bus.
Yeah.
What was it? It's got Daniel Kaluuya in it. Academy Award winner Daniel Kaluuya is in it.
Highway to the Sahara. Or
oh, geez.
Yeah, I don't know.
Con brain. But that was the first time they shot in HD. It was all SD, and so they've remastered them, and people are like, these look great. I'm like, we're watching a YouTube advertisement. We're not going to know how good they look on Blu-ray.
Right.
That's something I'm very curious about.
So in the United States, they're going to like have one big box set of the first 4 or all of
one through Flux.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, some of that's coming to Disney Plus too.
And
right?
yeah, I think that's why Series 1 through 4 got a remaster, because
Yeah.
it's going to end up leaving Max and going to Disney, I believe, because Doctor Who's a Disney thing now. I hope that's good. But
We'll see. I mean, we'll see.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. More people will see it. So hey,
Well, that's always
whenever
a good
you
thing,
start.
right?
I mean, what's the best place to start Doctor Who? Whenever there's a new Doctor, you'll catch up on the rest later. Like it'll make sense.
Honestly, anytime.
Anytime, really.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Just jump in.
Yeah, jump in. Just like comics, those are always going to be confusing. Just jump in. Good. This is the good guy. This is the bad guy. We'll get the details later. So I want to go with, before we go on the 60th anniversary, you want to talk about past celebrations they've done?
Yes. Yes, let's do that. Because there was something here in like 1987 or 8.
Oh.
PBS had a little like museum-like thing where you could walk through, and I think they brought Sarah Sutton
Okay.
here because at that time they were freshly kind of showing the.
She had been off the show for 5 years, too. That's
Yeah,
crazy,
but we always got them late.
Yep.
We weren't Philadelphia
Right.
or Boston or
Right.
Chicago, but no. And they had like a little thing, and I remember this because I wanted this so bad. You walked in through what looked like the TARDIS, and they had like a portion of the classic console. Now, I know that there's a whole set design thing nowadays, and it's like every Doctor has their own personal look. Give me that white thing with
Yep,
the
the
weird
roundels.
circles. Yeah.
Yep.
And just the plainness of it just captured my imagination because it could, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, it's like.
Well, remember Tom Baker's had that, like, pool, and then it had, like, the
He had the
stairs, the big stairs, and his alternate TARDIS room was awesome.
Yeah,
The wood panel.
that was really
oh,
cool. Yeah.
Season 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That was good.
they had like and they had like switches and lights and stuff, and so like you could go in and kind of play with this portion of the thing, and then from there on you moved on, and it had like costumes and props and a Dalek and Cybermen heads.
Oh, that's very
Yeah, so that was probably around 87 or 88, just kind of
cool. Gotcha.
keying in on like the 25th.
Right. The first one, though, was the Three Doctors.
Yes.
That was it to celebrate. It was done early.
The cover of
The
this-
cover of that, the Three Doctors, where they brought back, William Hartnell was in poor health, so his is on, like, they shot it in, like, his house in the garden, and he appears on a TV in the background, and it's mainly Pertwee and Troughton.
Just going at it. Just hating on each other.
It's good stuff. And then Omega, the villain, is introduced in that one.
He comes back during
The 20th anniversary. He kicks off season 20.
Yeah, he was in the Fifth Doctor. Yeah.
Which that was yeah. So Three Doctors brings them all together. First time you've had a multi-Doctor story. Very cool. And then we have the Five Doctors. Which that's
a pretty good one.
I like the Five Doctors.
I do
it's
too.
a weird one because Tom Baker did not want to come back for it. So they used footage from Shada, which was the canceled.
Yep.
Because there was a strike. Yeah, we know about strikes nowadays, right?
Right.
So the UK shoots Shada, a lot of it, or like about half of it, and then cancels it. And then when they pick up production, they just shelve it.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty good story.
It is a really
it's one
good
that's
story.
so good they've redone it a billion times.
The first time
audios, there's cartoons.
in the 90s, there was a tape that was piecing it all together.
With the Tom Baker interludes in between are golden.
Yeah. Anytime you get Tom Baker. Yeah. Anytime you get Tom Baker on there, because I remember they also had those sets of like the Third Doctor era, the Fourth Doctor era, and it was just Tom Baker watching clips that he does not know what the clip is from each serial.
Yes, and he's laughing.
Yeah, and he's like telling stories, and they all ended with, then we went to the pub and had a good time.
Yeah, there's a lot of pub deals going on. I got cast because I went to the pub, and this guy was like, wow. But so they take Tom Baker, and the best thing is the publicity. He wouldn't even go to the publicity shoot. Like, so that they have they're with Tom Baker, but they're with a wax Tom Baker. If you ever see the Five Doctors, it's a wax.
Unsettling.
Is it Madame Truffant? Because if you ever watch the end of a UK recording, I love. So one of the things on the Blu-rays I go to is Trails and Continuity.
Yeah.
Because they have these things like Doctor Who will be back next week at 5 p.m. And they'll have this like weird production shot that looks weird. It's just like Tom Baker like they're trying to advertise for next week. But there's this Madame Trufant's House of Wax thing that they do, but they pulled the Tom Baker one from that, and they're all posing with it, all 5 of them, but Bessie and all this stuff. And he's like, it's this wax figure, and it's just bizarre.
I think Troughton and Pertwee are like actually messing with like moving the arms around, and so they're having a grand old time with that thing.
He was probably the Doctor Who Shatner for a while. He changed, but like the conventions, he wouldn't be. His room had to be in a different room than the other Doctors in the '80s. Like he needed, he wouldn't do a panel with them, with Davison or Troughton or any of those guys. Like he was,
I mean, and some of that is kind of unfortunate because he missed out on like his prime time, but the stories about how, like the way he would treat, like, especially like kids,
right?
How he would like, be in costume.
Yeah, he took it serious. Yeah,
and like he didn't want anybody, any kids to see the Doctor drinking or smoking and all of that. That's class act.
It's good to say. And with 5 Doctors season 20, that season also brought back the Brigadier for a bit. And the Black Guardian trilogy is in there, and Turlough is new, and Chameleon gets forgotten. But now the 5 Doctors is fun stuff. They're redoing the CG for the upcoming Blu-ray once more for it.
Nice.
So every time there's an anniversary, there's a new cut of the 5 Doctors.
Right.
For some reason. Season 25, which we touched on, is the next time they celebrated an anniversary with that whole... with Remembrance of the Daleks and Silver Nemesis. They kind of got into a 25th anniversary within a season. Do we talk about the 30th? Dimensions in Time. Has anybody seen Dimensions in Time?
Go to YouTube and cringe your faces off.
It's bad.
It's real bad. So it's all done for it's kind of like a comedy relief thing.
Yeah. But
oof.
It was supposed to be this big deal. There was going to be a big movie production. It halted a movie production. There's this script called The Dark Dimension that was supposed to, that whittles down into not having money and being a part of a comedy 2-night comedy special in 3D on television, and it's mixed with, is it the EastEnders they mix with or Coronation Street? I can't remember. One of the soaps.
One of the soaps, yeah.
And there's Tom Baker looking weird, speaking into a microphone, be like, "Look out, everybody! Look out!" Oh,
yeah.
And then it's doctors. It brings back the Ronnie, and the first 2 doctors are captured, but she shows floating heads of them in her thing.
Yeah.
So then it's just, I think it is Coronation Street. That's why they're on the street the whole time, walking as the doctors change and the companions change because I don't know why.
And they're mix and match.
And they're mixing with EastEnders cast members. And it's like, what do you, like, how long, did this take a day? It's weird and it's bad. It's like probably is it the biggest embarrassment in the Doctor
because
Who
the Rowan Atkinson and Richard E. Grant one is
funny.
way better.
Yeah,
that is way better. What was that? The
Death Comes to Time, or is it Death Comes to Time, or Curse of the Fatal Death?
Curse of the Fatal Death. That's a far better one. Watch that one instead.
Yeah, Curse of the Fatal Death's got a lot of celebrities. It's pretty funny.
And the first time that there was a lady doctor.
Yes, Joanna Lumley.
Yep.
That was Yep. Okay, and then we move on to 2003, right before you get an announcement that it's going back in production. But we had the Scream of the Shalka. Anybody seen the Scream of the Shalka? With the forgotten about 9th Doctor, played by Richard E. Grant.
Yeah.
It was an animated web series, 4 parts, and he looks like Dracula, the Doctor.
Yeah, he does. He's got like sunken in cheeks and.
Yeah,
he looks like Richard E. Grant, but Richard E. Grant looks like a Dracula too.
Yeah, it was announced like he was the official 9th Doctor. This is what they're doing, and it's interesting. It's not awful. It's just animation's kind of past its time, so it can be watch it in segments. But it's right.
There was also like rumors of like Bill Nighy would be the 9th Doctor. I remember like there was a lot of like going into until we actually finally saw it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk and a lot of buzz. And it was like the first time I ever remember real buzz around Doctor Who, even bigger than the TV movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And
which is hit or miss. I understand some people may or may not want to talk about the TV movie.
So when the TV movie, when he says the line, that everybody hates, where he's like, I'm half human on my mother's side. And people are like, oh, no. I'm like, he's joking. It's a joke. It's like, joke. I'm half something on my mother's side. Like, he's joking. He's like joking,
he's
right?
just
you talked about headcanon.
Yeah, right. Or he's like cosplaying as Mr. Spock or something.
Yeah, like he's like, oh, I'm half Irish on my mother's side. Like it's a human joke he picked up and is saying. That's what I. But there's a lot of stuff with when Sophie Aldred joins in season 25, end of 24, going into 25. The way they start writing a companion and with her. And then this TV movie inform a lot of what goes on in the modern series. There's a lot of stuff like they don't get credit for that. I mean, sometimes they do, but like they don't get credit for paving the way. They're making mistakes that they wouldn't make here in the other one, but they are like there's a lot of Rose in Ace.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of the Dr. Rose in Grace and the Doctor in the movie, and there's a lot of they're figuring stuff out, but like those things were planted there.
I wanna kick this out to the audience here. Raise your hand. How do you guys feel about the Doctor being a romantic character? If you like that, raise your hand.
Despite age differences, it's okay. It's Doctor Who.
Okay, so yeah. a lot of no's, a couple of yeses. I think it can come off very weird because of the age. I mean, we talk about like May, December. This is like May and December of another century.
Right. Yeah. This is hundreds of years.
And some of those and some of the companions are very specifically young.
Yeah.
And that when you mentioned that about Ace, that was like, okay, wait.
Well, no, I think the romantic stuff wasn't there. I was mentioning Ace because of like background and trying to do more than just hand things over. And they were developing a backstory with Ace and challenging her personally, whereas you would see Rose get challenged on like Father's Day and seeing the Earth blow up right away.
Yeah,
that was her first. That's the kind of stuff I loved when they came back with Russell T. The next one, End of the World. Oh, all right, let's just go for it. But.
Well, and there is something. I mean, there is something to struggle with that concept too, right? It's like she's in a time where it's like everybody she ever knew and loved is dead.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's nothing left of her life, and that's another great sci-fi concept, right? It's like time travel is great. Living forever, I personally don't want to, but that's the reason why, is because it's like you have to suffer a lot of loss in order to be able to, so that's that's another good episode and a good thing to think about in the show.
There's a lot. That's why I love when it goes there, it makes you think. And like I like a good just monster romp myself, but that's the thing about Doctor Who. Like I said, it's anything every week, and like, oh, we're gonna get deep this week. And I enjoy it, and it's not afraid to get emotional. It's not afraid to be weird. It's accepting of everyone. It's like
some of the best drama of the original series was whenever he had to say goodbye to somebody.
Oh yeah, those
are rough.
I said it was funny because like I felt, and I had a friend that didn't understand what I was saying to it, but like I sort of at some point, like, and I enjoyed Capaldi's era just fine, but at some point there, like I was like I used to feel like, especially the Tennant through Smith era, like every season finale, like. I was like, it feels like the world's ending. He's like, well, they're not. I'm like, I not literally. I meant emotional stakes.
Yeah.
People, like, I'm worried about fictional characters being murdered or bad things happening to them. Like, and I was like, it kind of went away. It felt like it went away for a bit, or I just got numbed to how they were writing the show.
So many characters, important characters, like freaking died.
Mm-hmm.
In the new Who, like either they're completely and totally shut off to you.
Adric wasn't alone. Anymore.
Yeah, but like at the same time, it's like that should have been kept for a very special thing. Like having like when the Jenna Coleman character was like got hit by that, and I was like, oh no, not again. And then Danny. Oh God! It's like stop killing these people.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing I loved about the Whittaker era was the companions got to go. It wasn't like, well, we got to kill you now. You're off the show. Like, just some
that guy goes back to driving a bus,
Yeah. But, like, that's the thing. Like, with the Russell T. Davies and Moffat, they either, Moffat, like, if you didn't die, it was going to be just about as bad. Right. Like, that's what he did.
We're going to wipe your memories, and if you ever remember, it's going to destroy you from the inside out. Oh, yikes.
Yeah. So that's what I like seeing is that, okay, they can leave. They don't have to, like, if someone's there, like, they might not be doing doctor stuff all the time. They can be out in the world. They can see something on the news and be like, well, I don't have the capabilities to do it. Like, it's.
Or they could become like a Sarah Jane and become like a badass.
That's true. That's true. So we go, our last anniversary before the new one is the Day of the Doctor, which there was a lot at stake on this one. Like, it was 50 years. They were hyping up everything. And I was like, whoa, they actually got it.
Oh, they knocked it out of the park.
I was stunned. Like, I'll go back to that one. Oh, no. Uh-oh. Yes. Oh, everything was.
That falls.
Oh, yeah.
But it also, like, there's a weird continuity thing there, too, right? From, like, the build-up to that and then where it starts is a weird drop-off, but you're right. The build-up is
fantastic. The Night of the Doctor, and then the little Eighth Doctor thing they put in there was cool. Like, they really, I can't believe how well, that you couldn't have asked for a better 50th anniversary than what they did. And we got new episodes returned. You had animations. You had all these sorts of things. Like, for every era, they really helped everyone out. And then they nailed the special. And I guess, like they say I was told, and I tell people with weddings, with my, one thing's going to go wrong that day. And just, that happened. That's fine. Whatever. My wedding went smoothly. And then I got the photos back. But luckily, my two brother-in-laws that are photographers, and they were just snapping away, and their pictures are our wedding pictures because they're way better. But I'm bringing this to Doctor Who.
Okay.
Everything went smoothly.
It's like we got oddly very
except
specific.
The post-Day of the Doctor after party was a disaster that they showed on TV.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where they went. That was it. They had like One Direction on there and like all this stuff, and it was just a mess.
Yeah, that was a little weird. But the special is, like, I still, like, when they bring Gallifrey, or when they you know, like when they all had to come together to, like, that is still a gripping scene.
Yeah.
And just Capaldi's eyes was like, oh, I cannot wait for him to take over.
Here he comes. Yeah.
Yeah, because he is going to be, and the look he gives at the end of his first story.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I'm kind of.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes. Come right up, Cliff. Right.
Welcome back, Cliff, to the podcast stage. Let me unmute you.
To that end, do you think we lose a lot by finding out who the next Doctor is in press releases and videos, as opposed to because can you imagine if we had not known about Capaldi at all until that moment? Because I think back to, like I said, as a kid, when Tom Baker regenerated into Peter Davison, I didn't know that was a thing. I just I basically fell off my couch and went, what the heck just happened here? As opposed to now when we're like, oh, here's a press release and here they are on the cover of Variety and this is who's going to be your next Doctor, as opposed to it being a surprise.
Yeah, because I will say, yes, you're right. Because, like, we didn't really, I mean, like, we knew that Peter Capaldi was coming in.
Right.
But we didn't really know what he was going to be like.
No.
But we know what number 15 is going to be like already. We know his companion. We know, we've seen the press. It's
that
like,
guy can wear anything and look cool. Like, I can't. Like, when is he going to look like?
When's he going to look like a dork or something? Yeah, no.
Weird. Like, it's like, oh, he's in. Oh man, he looks cool. Oh, look, he's got a fro and the gangster suit. I'm like, wow, cool. He's got like no shirt on. He looks cool. Like what?
And it feels like they're going back a little bit to Rose because they've got a pop star coming in as his companion. It's like, I'm ready.
Yeah,
but. You're right. I kind of feel like I already know him. Like Capaldi, I feel like I waited to find out the intensity that he was bringing. And again, that's why I kind of go back. That's why he's my favorite. He makes me think of the first three.
We've got a real big scoop problem. So I think a lot of them getting ahead. Like, we should get a good picture of them out before a set photo that looks awful and people already start talking bad. And that's where we are at with all of our pop culture stuff. And they just want to, and plus they can have an event, they can have a story, they can build it. Like, I would love to be surprised. What if they announced somebody else and it wasn't that person and it was just for a ruse and it became someone else? That would be, I'd love that. It'd be like, oh, I was Doctor Who for a press release.
Yeah. Yeah, I was the concept doctor. And now we brought in another guy.
Because they did that. I mean, they went back, like, Colin Baker was announced, like, a year before he started. They took pictures of him and Nicole Bryant.
Yeah.
Crush on Perry.
Oh, yeah,
Forever.
I love Perry, too. Poor girl had to deal with a lot, though.
Yeah. But they started doing the press shoots with that then. And then there's an interesting where they wanted so John Nathan Turner, he runs from Tom Baker's last season to the end of the Classic Series. And he would just, if he didn't stay, that probably got canceled earlier.
Yeah, and I will say about John Nathan Turner, everything you've ever heard about him, good or bad, he does deserve.
Yeah.
I mean, he does. I mean, because like he does take Doctor Who into a very dark place. But at the same time, I cannot undercut his appreciation for Doctor Who.
Right.
So, you know.
I've come at it's funny at first I've come to actually appreciate the Colin Baker run that's so derided, which I think is now underappreciated. There's like a lot of value and stuff they're trying there. It's not perfect.
The Cybermen episode is scary.
The which one?
The Cybermen one is scary.
The Cybermen and the Vengeance on Varos is like a really a reality TV allegory stuff like way
prescient.
before that was happening. But there's things I like to appreciate about that. In the 80s era, I think wasn't appreciated at the time, is finally starting to get some appreciation because I don't think it was a bad run. Plus, those doctors are still alive and running around doing conventions, so they're
gaining new fans, which is important.
Or people are maybe taking a look at that and figuring it out.
I do like Colin Baker as a person.
Yeah.
And I do understand why. I mean, he was in an impossible scenario.
Yeah.
Because for a little bit of time, I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to think that a lot of people's second favorite Doctor is Davison.
Yeah.
If you're a certain age, that would certainly be the case, and it certainly was my case until I got to see Pertwee. So, I mean, he's still.
Well, Davison did the magic trick that Matt Smith did, which you had the impossible task of following the most popular Doctor, and then it went smooth, and everybody liked you.
And he's energetic.
And at the same time, went to a young person right after an older person.
Yep.
So, and not to say Pertwee was a popular Doctor too. He saved the show, and it was like, well, where's this going with this nobody guy who captured the hearts of the UK immediately?
Yeah.
Because he's weird. Yes. Do you want to come? Yeah, come on.
Yes.
Don't listen to us.
Hello.
What's your name first?
Mickey.
Mickey. Hello, Mickey.
So I think Colin and Sylvester also were really hampered by the fact that they didn't have any control over costume or direction they wanted to take the Doctor. Like, I love Colin talking about how the outfit that Chris Eccleston starts out in is the outfit that it's kind of like what he wanted, and then we got this meme going around with the two of them switched costumes. And you're thinking wow, if Colin and Sylvester had more say in what was going on, could that have changed things? Would that direction of that Doctor's time been a lot different?
Right.
Possibly, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they didn't have control of, and so they kind of get derided for all the stuff that, they just had to do what they were told.
Right. Sylvester got his hat. He wore that to auditions, and they liked that. So,
I would assume that some of that I would have to be from John Nathan Turner and Tom Baker's clashing constantly. And John Nathan Turner was 25?
He was young.
Over?
Yeah, he was a production assistant throughout.
And
Tom Baker
was it's like Baker had so much control because, I mean, there was Robert Holmes. I mean, but they were all happy to Tom's just the force, and he's obviously buttering the bread around here.
Right, yeah.
So, but Nathan Turner did not have that same.
And, retroactively, Baker's last season is unintentionally kind of brilliant.
It really is. That whole E-Space trilogy is great.
They changed the outfit, and when it starts, they're on the beach, and it looks like between season 17, season 18, they've been on a ton of adventures, Romana and the Doctor, and this is a man facing his end, and he knows it. And I don't think it was intended or written that way, but it comes across with his performance and the way the shows play, and the way his regeneration being different from the others works. And I'm I actually see this unintentional. Maybe it was subliminally coming out of the writers in them at the time, and it just now looking back and knowing stories, it looks like that. It looks like a doctor at the end of time, and just like this is it, and his one last adventure, and he's facing himself as an old man in one duplicate, and then he's got the duplicate with Meglos. He goes to E-Space, like and he checks
and then because the great vampires were
right, the vampires.
He was outmatched by them.
It is space vampires on Doctor Who. Their castle was a ship. That was awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah. But no, that's why I love Logopolis so much. It's so dour.
Yeah.
It's all gone from him. He knows that this is it, you know, and what better way to go out than to save whatever he could of the universe.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a brilliant moment, one of the most iconic regenerations.
Yeah. What was the Watcher?
The what?
The Watcher.
I don't know.
Does anybody have an answer of what the Watcher was?
It's creepy and it works for me. Like, but I can't explain to you.
They still didn't really know what they were doing with the regeneration.
No, it was new. And they didn't even call it a regeneration for a while. They weren't called Time Lords for a while. They weren't called here's the thing. When people get really, when they get continuity heavy, when they get, I always say, I'm family friendly, F canon, because it's all made up. The stuff you're arguing about being this wasn't this to someone else back. Like, it's all like F canon. Learn about production stuff. Add that to your mental thing of, they didn't have money to do that. That's why they, you don't have to make it make story sense. There's the Watsonian and Doylean or Doylean or whatever, Doyleist and Watsonian perspectives. The one is Watson, Dr. like Sherlock Holmes. Why did Sherlock Holmes die? Well, from Dr. Watson, it's like, Moriarty pushed him in the waterfall and this. The Doyleist one is, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was sick of writing Sherlock Holmes, and he wrote him off. He died. You need to be more Doyleist in things in life. It'll
absolutely help. And you got to understand that the idea of regeneration happened because William Hartnell got sick.
Well, they were sick of working with him too.
Well, that too.
If you notice in his third season, he starts being written out for he is invisible in most of the Celestial Toymaker on purpose.
And then they do the same thing to Dodo.
Dodo. The companions are treated they're like, let's not renew the contract. Where'd she go? Well, we're right in line. She didn't want to come back.
Yeah, she's going to see family.
She's going to see family. Ben and Polly. You know what? We want Polly, and she's like, I'm not doing it. She's like, I'm not doing it without Michael Craze. And she's like, okay, well, they'll see you later.
So that's how shows should work. Probably.
And have you ever noticed the ones they're testing to be companions future in episodes? Like there was one in the Faceless ones. She didn't want to do it. They were right. There's a person with Jamie in that one in. Season 24, right before Ace, there's the episode Delta and the Bannermen. There's a character in there that's supposed to be the next companion.
I like
that. They said
episode.
No. They were like, nope, that's not going to be it. There's test people in those classic stories.
They just flat out killed Sarah Kingdom.
Right? Okay. Actually, folks, we are at time. I appreciate thank you all for coming because this was last minute. This was a replacement program. And I think more you probably showed up than what would have for the original program. I appreciate it so much. Geoff, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to tell people where they can find your stuff?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm the co-host of Film Seizure. We won awards.
They won an award last night at the podcast. I handed it to them.
Yes. So Film Seizure every Wednesday at filmseizure.com. You can find us at Facebook, Instagram, Threads. We're pretty much where all better podcasts are found, I think is the term that they say.
All right.
And also on Mondays at the same place, I have Monster Mondays. I have covered Doctor Who multiple times. I have actually even used that as a way to try to win awards here because of this guy listening. So
all right. Thank you.
Did not work this year, but gave it a shot.
All right. I'm Brandon Peters from The Brandon Peters Show, which you can look up, and you can re-listen to this or hear yourself on this, not next week, but the week after on my show, so just subscribe to the show. I urge you to come back at 1 for my trivia show with Jessica Alsman, and you can win a prize. You can talk on there, try your hand at trivia. You're going to get it right. We make sure you go with the prize. But please show back at 1. Next up, we have Bearding Without Borders, but I'm going to take us out with a little treats.
I bring you greetings from all Daleks.
I'm gonna spend my Christmas with a Dalek and hug him underneath the mistletoe. And if he's very nice, I'll feed him sugar spice and hang a Christmas stocking from his big left toe.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.